Traders, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be going over a few stocks that I liked going into the end of this week, going into Thanksgiving and the beginning of December. Now, these are swing plays that I am personally trading and I have a position in. And I'm going to go over why I like them, the dips that they're currently having, and why I see upside in the future, especially in the short term. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's get to it.
I got no drip in my pocket.
Okay, so the first one we're going to go over is GGPI. That's the ticker symbol, GGPI. This is an EV SPAC play. They do have a lot of potential. I wasn't a huge fan when they had the instant push up from like $11 all the way to $15. It was just too ran up at that time. Now we're getting a push back down. Lots of volume was kicking in here, and it did look very good. Now, you did get a little bit of downside pressure. If you were watching the live stream earlier, I got in around 13.8, 13.9. The average entry on most of my position, I believe it was 75 cents. And the options, I don't have it in front of me for the strikes. But anyways, so you are pushing up. I do like how you're performing. And I mentioned in the live stream as well that I could see a potential touch of that daily level. End of the day, you got to push up and then wake back down. I still like the way it's performing. After hours, you're back up a little bit. EV's really hot right now. Lucid, Rivian, Rivian does look pretty terrible. I would not be having calls on that bad boy. But I do really like GGPI. I could see a lot of potential to run back to 15 at least once. Now, I'm not holding this for the long term. I do have longer dated calls just in case. But I do like what I'm seeing here. You also had a really nice gap fill as well. I love what's going on here. It's a really good one. The next one's going to be DraftKings. Now, I have not been a huge fan of DraftKings pin gambling ever since they broke their major supports. Pin gambling took a turn for the worst, kind of on false news on Dave Portnoy, and DraftKings followed down as well. Looking at DraftKings, the big thing here was the insider buying. I posted it on Twitter as well. The director of DraftKings, second in command, actually bought 7K shares today, basically at open. So I really do like that as well. DraftKings, you're hitting a very hard bottom. When we go out to about the 4-hour chart, you haven't seen these levels in over a year. If you go back all the way to 2020 November, this was the hard support at about 35.6, 35.7. I don't see it breaking too far underneath there, and if it did break below there, I'd have to reconsider my position. So right now, minimal risk, all things considered, and I went pretty far out on these as well. However, I still think there's a lot of momentum, at least to push back up to 40, maybe even higher. I personally got $50 strikes here. I do like what it's doing. That doesn't mean I'm holding it to $50, but I see a lot of upside in the near-term future as well. All right, so this is going to be the last play. I did just mention Rivian, and I want it to be really clear. This is the only position I am not in. I have DraftKings. I also have GGPI. Now, Rivian, this is going to be a little bit skeptical for some people, but it was also announced today that Ford basically backed out of manufacturing vehicles with them as well. I tweeted that as well. Source, everything is there on Twitter. Link for Twitter is down below. The Discord link is also down below as well. Rivian, I believe, has major downside. I think this thing is completely overpriced. I think you're not getting enough buying pressure. You couldn't even fill these gaps back to the upside. This looks horrendous. You held below the weekly. This thing most likely comes down to 106, 107 in a hurry. I don't see strength at all here. 115 on the minimum for the downside, in my opinion, but this definitely has more downside. You could look at this and maybe call us a bull flag. I don't like it, especially with how you held below the weekly there. Typically, when you hold below the weekly and you're in a bull flag, you typically invalidate that bull flag. So I would see a lot of downside kicking in here. I, again, have no position in this. This is just something that I saw at the end of the day that I was pretty frustrated with, that I wasn't able to get into. Unless they come out with some really bullish news, I don't see this performing well at all. I also want to go over the fact that Amazon has a lot of questions regarding the strength of their batteries, and this was also pretty negative and had them pushing down originally in the beginning of the day. So the first push down here with Amazon, they came back up, and then the next push down with Ford. More bad news probably keeps coming out. I've been a bear on Rivian since this thing just went bonkers to 180. It's a very dangerous stock to be playing on the upside because they have no real product out there yet. I think there's a lot of hope for it. It's a really big boomer EV stock in my opinion, but I see downside in the near-term future. All right, so I'm going to try to keep these videos coming out, just doing stocks that I like every single day as well. It's a bit tough sometimes to get these out, but I will try to have them going. No BS, very short, sweet, to the point. Again, if you want to see every single trend I'm getting to as I'm getting into it, why I'm getting into it, things like that in the live streams every single day, the link to Discord is down below. But if you want the free content as well, I'm providing it, going over every stock as well. Twitter is for you. Link also down below. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. And remember, boys, we're in the...
Don't got enough to go cop it. I'm about to take off like a rocket. Houston, we might have